Hello friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start this video with a story about how one developer outsmarted City Hall using nothing but patience and a well-timed storm. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. City wouldn't let him demolish a crumbling historic landmark, so he let Mother Nature do it for him. In my town, there was an old decaying house that had been sitting vacant for years. Everyone knew the place. Peeling paint, sagging roof, vines, climbing up the siding like nature was trying to reclaim it. The structure had long passed the point of saving in most people's eyes, but there was one major problem: the planning department. You see, this crumbling eyesore was officially designated a historic landmark. It wasn't some stately Victorian or Grand Colonial either, it was just old. But in the eyes of the Planning Commission, age alone made it special. That meant demolition was strictly forbidden. The only thing legally allowed was interior renovation, and even that required careful oversight and dozens of permits. The owner, a local investor hoping to develop the property, quickly discovered just how tight the city's grip was. Want to repair the foundation? Permit. Replace a cracked window? Permit. Paint the inside wall? You guessed it, permit. Demolition? Absolutely not. But this owner wasn't exactly new to the game. Once he realized he couldn't tear the place down outright, he decided to renovate within the rules, and that's when things got interesting. Step one of his master plan stripped the interior bare. He gutted it completely. Down came the walls, up came the flooring. By the end of the first week, the inside of the house was nothing but studs and shadows. Then, for reasons totally unrelated to city restrictions, wink, the upper story windows were removed too. It was technically allowed. He'd filed permits for restoration, but what was left was basically a hollow shell with huge gaping holes on every side. Then the project hit a wall. The official story: cash flow problems. Work came to a sudden halt. No crews showed up. No materials arrived. No more progress was made. And yet, strangely, nothing was done to protect what was left of the now exposed structure. Rain poured in through open windows. Wind whistled through the broken framework. Over time, the building that was once old but stable became dangerously unstable. Then came the storm. It wasn't even a hurricane, just one of those intense summer thunderstorms that blows through town with sudden fury. Winds hit 60 miles per hour, rain fell sideways, and branches snapped like toothpicks. When the skies cleared, the house was no longer standing. It had collapsed completely. Walls buckled, the roof caved in, and all that remained was a heap of wet, splintered lumber and bricks. The city sent inspectors, the community gathered to gawk, but there was nothing to be done. A storm had taken down the building, and here's the kicker: no special permits are needed to clean up storm debris. Demolition is illegal, sure, but removing storm wreckage? That's just public safety. And so the owner did what any responsible citizen would do. He called in a cleanup crew, hauled away the mess, and graded the lot. Within a week, the historic landmark was just another patch of open land with a lot of potential and no restrictions. The city couldn't exactly point fingers. The owner hadn't technically violated any laws. He never brought in a wrecking ball or bulldozer. Nature had just done what red tape wouldn't allow. Whether you call it luck or brilliant strategy, the result was the same. A once protected building was gone, and a brand new development opportunity had opened up. Funny how a well-timed storm can solve even the most bureaucratic of problems. I never understood this about a landmark house. If it's so valuable to history, it should be moved. What they did near me with the house of a Civil War captain, and/or turned into a museum. Just leaving a house sit and rot does nothing for the historical value. And our second story. I'll take my time away, thanks. I work in university housing. Running dorms on a campus is a seriously emotionally manipulative job that really plays up to the "we're a family" rhetoric to guilt employees to investing wild amounts of time, energy, and money into this work. To avoid burnout, one must take time away. But it has to be away, as in not just staying home, because we live where we work. Our apartments are inside the buildings we run, so if we stay home, we still haven't left work. You've got to go somewhere else to really have some separation. But we get lots of guilt to avoid us taking that time away from campus. In recent months, taking time away has been made more and more complex by our supervisors. It used to be a request form that was either approved or denied the next day, and approval was almost always guaranteed. Now you submit a request form that must wait until the following Monday so it can be discussed in a closed meeting. If you want more than one day off, once your request is approved, it's considered conditional, and you must submit a written plan for what your staff will be doing while you're gone, a draft of your out-of-office email, written confirmation that another employee will babysit your buildings while you're gone, and a copy of preparation materials given to that person. To be clear, our areas absolutely do not need babysitters. It's a circus with the hopes that there will be so many hoops to jump through, we might give up on taking our time away. Not me, I'll jump. I've earned my time off, and I'll be using it, thanks. I have a long-distance partner that I visit for 3 to 4 days every 6 weeks or so. He can't take time off like I can, as he's self-employed, and if he doesn't go to work, he doesn't get paid. So when I visit, he goes to work when he needs to, and I usually spend my day visiting with a longtime friend that lives nearby, or taking his dog on day-long adventures. But all the work I do at my job right now can be accomplished remotely. I want to take off 4 days for my next visit. I asked my boss if I could just request the time I'd actually be traveling as PTO and then work remotely on the other weekdays/partial days during my trip. I thought this might be okay, as it would keep me occupied and I could keep up with committee meetings, student meetings, and project timelines. My boss has never said so out loud, but I know she isn't happy with me for taking regular time off. It's been setting an example to the rest of my colleagues who have also started taking more time off, which they should 100% be doing. Our department still runs smoothly and my buildings are the best managed on campus. She's just upset I'm not being guilted appropriately to stay here all the time and keep working. My boss told me that she would not approve me to work remotely as I had to be on campus to do my job. Mind you, during that meeting, I was dealing with a cold and had been approved to work from home. I asked her why that was different from working from my partner's office. She told me that because I live on campus, I could still be called upon to respond to an emergency if needed. I asked her if I ever would be called on to respond to an emergency, as I'm in quarantine for illness and I am not our designated emergency on-call person. She told me her decision was final, but if I still only wanted to take 2 days off, I could shorten my trip. I told her, no, that's fine, I just won't work at all for those 4 days. Clearly, this was not what she thought would happen. She replied that even though I would need to take PTO if I was off campus, I would still be more than welcome to attend committee and student meetings during my vacation. I told her, no thank you. If I have to take PTO, then I will not be working during that time. Thank you for answering my questions, though. She's been giving me the stink eye for the past week. I wish I felt sorry for her, but if you're going to make rules, you should be prepared for the possible outcome that people might just follow them. No, she needs to understand that if they want something, they have to pay for it. They've essentially been getting free work from you and everyone else. PTO means paid time off, not paid time on. That's just called work. And our last story. Neighbor won't turn off his floodlight, so I planted a living wall of revenge. Roughly 5 years ago, I lived in a sleepy little neighborhood just outside Asheville, North Carolina. It was one of those semi-rural pockets with oversized lots and quiet evenings where you could actually hear frogs instead of traffic and see the Milky Way on a clear night. My house sat on just over an acre and backed up to an open horse pasture. Nothing but fence, rolling grass, and starlight. I had only one backyard neighbor, a guy we'll call Brad, whose place sat diagonally behind mine with his deck facing directly toward my sunroom and fire pit area. For a while, it was peaceful. Our only interaction was the occasional nod across the lawn when we were both out grilling. Then came the light. Out of nowhere, Brad installed what I can only describe as a prison yard grade floodlight above his back door. Not a motion sensor light, not a soft ambiance bulb. No, this was a full-blown LED cannon that fired directly into the back half of my house like he was trying to keep aircraft from landing on his roof. I tried to roll with it at first, installed blackout curtains, shifted my patio seating, but sitting outside at night now felt like being interrogated. I checked in with the local HOA, yes, sadly we had one, to see if there was any clause on lighting. No dice. They were quick to remind me that the 7.5-foot fence between us was already at max height and there were no bylaws regulating exterior brightness. Great. So unless I wanted to live under artificial daylight, I had to handle it myself. The diplomatic route. I grabbed a $25 gift card for the local brewery and walked over, rang his doorbell, and gave him the most polite pitch of my life. Explained that the light was like a laser beam into my windows, and I'd appreciate it if he could tilt it downward or maybe swap it for a softer bulb. Even offered to buy and install a motion sensor light for him. He smiled, nodded, said, "Yeah, I guess I can do that," and I went home cautiously optimistic. A month later, nothing, not even a tilt. So I walked back, same friendly tone, asked if he'd had a chance to make the change, and this time the guy gave me a smirk and said, "Actually, I like it just how it is. So yeah, it's staying." That was it, no apology, just smug indifference. So I got petty, deliciously petty. If there's one thing I've learned from being raised by gardeners and watching too many documentaries, it's that you don't need a wall when you've got the right plant. I did some digging and found the perfect revenge tool, giant timber bamboo. Grows fast, thick, and tall, up to 30 feet. And best of all, there were no HOA restrictions on planting it. Better still, our covenants didn't say a word about vegetation crossing over property lines unless it was a tree. I went full scientist, dug a shallow trench along the fence line, installed a root barrier only on my side, and planted 2 rows of timber bamboo starts, all staggered for maximum density. Brad's house sat barely 20 feet from the property line, while mine was set way back near the center of my plot. I watered, mulched, fertilized, and waited. By autumn, the first wave was already 10 feet tall. By the following spring, his backyard view was completely replaced by a towering green wall, and that god-awful light, it barely made it through the leaves. By the 1-year mark, it might as well have been turned off. It couldn't reach past the bamboo fortress. That's when the complaint letter started. First, there was a handwritten note taped to my mailbox asking if I could trim the plants that were encroaching. Then came a more official-looking envelope requesting cooperative trimming efforts. I shredded both. A few weeks later, Brad rang my bell. I watched him through the front window, arms crossed, clearly not there to make peace. I gave him the same courtesy he gave me, stared straight at him, and didn't open the door. I ended up relocating 2 years later for work and sold the house to a couple who, by pure coincidence, loved bamboo and wanted to expand the grove. Last month, out of pure curiosity, I pulled up Google Earth. Brad's backyard is a pure jungle, and his little yard is hidden under a wave of green. It's a win. I hope you were able to inform the new owners as to why the bamboo is there, so they could continue the revenge. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.